T-Rex and Get It On, and the piano player on that record is here with us.
Yeah, I mean, not the most exciting piano part I've ever played. A few little glissandos. I mean, the story has been told, but, oh crikey, Marc was a great friend. He was a lovely man, and I used to do a lot of work for Regal Zonophone, Denny Cordell, which was at 68 Oxford Street, Dumbarton House. And they used to do demo sessions as well as proper sessions. So I used to hang around there to see what I could get and what I couldn't get. And I was living out at Gants Hill near Ilford at the time. My rent was £8 a week. I was really struggling this particular week, and I came to London to see what I could pick up to work. Went up to Dumbarton House, spoke to Denny. Anything? No. Spoke to Tony Visconti. Anything? No. Gus Dudgeon? Anything? No. Nothing today, Rick. Nothing around. I was just about to give up, and I went down to the Wimpy Bar, which was on the corner opposite, and Tony Visconti came and said, "You're in luck. Session tonight." I said, "Oh, thank you, God." Well, he said, Trident Studios. He said, Marc wants you to do some piano. I said, oh, brilliant. So I went down to Trident Studios, and Marc, as he always did, came with the guitar and played the track through. And I'm listening to this, and I said, Marc, hard as I can, and listen, I can't see where a piano fits on this. This is a glam rock guitar rock track. I just don't see the piano. He said, I want you to do some glissandos. He said, just thumb at the top, all the way down. I said, when? He said, when I nod at you. I said, right, okay. So he played it through to her, and I did. And at the end of the session, that's all I had to do. I said, Marc, he said, I said, look, thanks ever so much. I collected me, £9, so I made £1 because I was paying everything. So I was, to get back on the train, Central Line, go back to Gants. I said, look, thanks ever so much. I said, but I've got to, I said, you could do this yourself. Anybody could have done this. And he said, yeah, you wanted your rent though, didn't you? And he said, if I'd have offered you the money, he said, you wouldn't have taken it. So you've earned it.
Wonderful. Then, of course, you got a phone call from David Bowie.
Yeah. And I lived in a tiny little house in West Harrow. I mean, really tiny little terrace place. And he called me up and said, would you come and see me? I want to play you some songs. So I went up, and he opened his guitar case and took out this incredibly battered 12-string guitar and started playing these songs, one after the other. Sensational songs, Changes, and then Life on Mars, of course, and all the other songs which will eventually became Hunky Dory. And he said, what do you think? I said, Dave, these are sensational. Normally on an album, you would have, maybe one cracking song, a couple of other good ones, and then there would be, without being detrimental to other artists, a little bit of padding here. Well, this song, that'll be all right, and get lost. But it was just cracking song after cracking song. And I said, these are amazing. And he said, what I want you to do, he said, is make notes about them on piano. So almost treat them as piano pieces, because I want to come at this album from the piano point of view. So he said, what I want you to do is to do really what you want to do, and I'll get Mick and the rest of the guys and Woody to work round you. Which has always been a bit embarrassing, because people have said to me, God, you must have worked so hard to do those arrangements for like Life on Mars. And then I go, well, actually the truth is everybody had to work round me. People often ask me, did you know it was going to be as huge as it was? The answer is yes. I did loads of sessions, a couple of thousand of them over the years. And the thing was, when something very special came up, you did know. You really did know that this, and you always knew that Hunky Dory was going to be an iconic album and live forever because of the songs on it, and how David approached making the album. Life on Mars is something I'm very proud to have been involved with it, very proud to have been given the opportunity to play on it.
I've always wondered, at the end of Life on Mars, it sounds like a phone rings in the studio.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that all about?
The actual performing studio, the live room, was downstairs at Trident, and upstairs was the control room. And I was told, whether or not it's true or not, probably Tony Visconti is the only one who could answer the question, really, was that the phone rang up there, and there was a sort of a door open, and somehow it leaked downstairs onto a mic. And for whatever reason, like a lot of quirky things on records, somebody said, I'll leave it.
All right, well, we'll listen out for the phone ringing at the end. I've always loved that little quirk. And it has captured the moment. That's why it's good to sometimes leave these things.
Absolutely, yeah.
But before that, the wonderful piano playing of Rick Wakeman on Life on Mars. Life on Mars from David Bowie. Rick Wakeman's here on Radio 2. So when was the beginning of Yes for you? When did you get involved there?
Well, the first time I sort of heard Yes was 69, probably. I was with Straubs at the time, and we ended up supporting Yes at a show in Hull. And after we'd done our 40-minute opener, I hung around to hear this, to actually hear and see this band that people had started to sort of talk about. And what intrigued me at the time was it broke virtually every single rule about what a rock band should be. I mean, at that time, the lead guitarist always had a massive stack of Marshall amps and Marshall cabinets, was incredibly loud. The guitarist came on, Steve Howe, and he had 2 little Fender twin amps. And instead of having a Les Paul or a Strat or a Telecaster, he had a Gibson semi-acoustic. So what? Chris Squire, the bass player, came on. No Marshall stacks there. He had Sun cabinets, which nobody had ever heard of, playing probably what was considered to be the most unfashionable bass there was, which was the Rickenbacker. And of course, then there was Bill Bruford, who played unlike any drummer I'd ever heard. The only thing I suppose that was normal was Tony Kaye, who had a Hammond organ and played very, very well, like a rock organist. And then out came the singer. Normally singers were about 6 foot, long greasy black hair, and strutted around in leathers. Out came this little pixie, about 5'2" tall, and when he opened his mouth, had the most glorious alto voice. And I went, what is going on? This is absolutely, it breaks every single rule about rock and roll. And it was a couple of months, 2 or 3 months after that I got a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning from Chris Squire, he is a night bird, bless him. And he said they just got back from America after doing their first tour out there, and they were looking at having a few changes around as to their music and to how they wanted to develop. And they wanted to develop very much along the orchestral lines. And they heard me play with Straubs because they saw me at that particular gig in Hull. Tony very much wanted to stay in the rock stream of things, so was going to leave. Would I be interested in coming along? It was interesting because there were 5 completely different people in every possible respect, and it was a classic example of 5 people who had probably absolutely nothing in common with each other outside of music and what we were trying to do. And before you ask me, I'm not sure that any of us really knew what we were trying to do. We just found that we each had elements that if we brought it to the table, somehow slotted together, and we each had elements of I suppose of musical gifts in different that we could make work to make the music work. Keyboards were growing at the time. People like Bob Moog had created great instruments that were coming through, and I was having the most wonderful time, creating a keyboard orchestra around these great players and great music.
And which track would you say you played on with Yes, where you thought, yes, this is it, it's all come together, this is how I imagined it, this is...
Well, Close to the Edge was very, very special, obviously, as was, I suppose, And You and I on Fragile Roundabout was just a classic mixture of track of sort of prog rock and rock, and where it almost meets commercialism without trying to, in a strange way.
Rick, it's been great seeing you.
It's been fantastic seeing you.
Thanks for coming in, and listen, have a wonderful time with the shows.
I hope to see you there, sir.
You will indeed.
Thanks.